Hello, West Pacific Market Analytics, and it's Glenn coming at you here with a new report, the top 10 stocks powering the market game. I'm making a complete directional change in the way I do things here. We're going to be looking at stocks. We're going to be looking at opportunities to make money in trades. The first report, and we're going to be looking at this regularly, is going to have the same 10 top stocks every time we look at it. I will be posting it here on my YouTube channel when things change and when we're needing to look at the next report, depending obviously in market and when it starts setting up here into the coming few weeks. So that's one report we're going to be doing, and I'm coming at you with a couple of other ideas as well behind this. We're going to be doing a few other reports around these just trading-based analytical models. Now we're still going to conclude either in the West Pacific week, I haven't decided yet, that we used to do, or the long-term month-end report, where we're going to look more at just the internal technicals of the market, which we used to do a lot more regularly here on the channel. So I'm kind of working on how it's going to run, but it's going to be completely different, and I want to get into it with you right now. So let's not waste time, because we got to go over these 10 stocks here. As you can see, the 10 stocks here are the NVDA, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, of course, Meta, Broadcom, Berkshire, Tesla, and JP. Basically, these 10 stocks are like almost 50% of the market. And without them moving lower, you can't talk about the market moving lower. Disclaimer real quick, please read it. Charts and updates for educational entertainment purposes only. Always do your own due diligence and research, and all your own capital is at risk. All right, let's get into it here. So we're going to go over here onto our Discord member platform where all these models have posted. We've still been very, very active over here within the Discord family, within the group here, and keeping things current. And so that's still ongoing. Nothing's changed with that. So let's start out here, NVIDIA, which is now about 10% of the market. And each model is going to look the same. So what we're looking at is the gatekeeper model here. Now, what can we see in this model? We can see this first move lower into April, but we can see that we had the bear cross happening right here, notice? But when NVIDIA got down here, the dot curve of the directional circulation was only topping. So as we came down, that made the V channel up here above. So we can't never, price above the V channel is not a good place to be. Price in the V channel is good. And then, of course, we broke down. We got the bear cross here, but the channel didn't break down as quickly as price in the market did, and that set up this bounce back up. Now, we're going to be seeing that. Part of the error I made in the past was not understanding time to the curve as I've been talking to my membership. And that's going to be a subject we're going to be talking a lot in future videos. The curve has to top out. The dot curve, or the directional circulation of the velocity of the momentum, has to top, and you can see that's happened. We've got a bear cross, so we've gone from having the V channel here at the old high to now the V channel breaking down, and you can see we're above the V channel. You can see also we had a turn here on the signal. You notice that turn right up top here. You see it? Click in on it. You see the top right there on the signal's turn. So what we're going to watch now is we're going to drop back down here into the V channel. The gate is standing here at 138 on NVIDIA. Earnings tomorrow. And this looks like a very bearish setup. So I'm expecting a pretty aggressive sell-off now on NVIDIA, taking us down in the next month. Let's see how fast this thing rips lower to test the gate at 138. Now that's only going to take us into the channel. You can see the V channel is very much deeper than that, but we can't break below 138 unless this trend here is able to close below the medium line right here. So what I'm talking about is you can see how when price dipped below this median line, the trend is below, allowing price to break below the gate. Notice trend below, price breaking below the gate. So we're going to be watching that. So NVIDIA is the first thing, 10% of the market. Again, you can see it's projecting here on the shorter term model. Notice how to the low, it just absolutely followed right up the V channel. So we're going to be looking at close-up models that we can trade as the trend is developing, or that what we're going to want to do each time, and each time week, it'll probably be at least a week. We might push this out more. These are updated currently daily for the membership, and they're going to be obviously getting the information very quickly. But you can see we've got the bear cross here. Here's our 138 target. We've expanded out what it looks like the dot curve might want to look like, but let's see how it sets up tomorrow. Right now, you notice the gate is able to push back up in an open position, so price was able to briefly drop during the week of the 18th to the 25th below the trend here, below the gate, and it's now just sandwiched right up here, okay? So we're going to want to see. So really not much to talk about in NVIDIA. You can see right here in the big picture, here was that initial sell-off. The trend was still above. Price was able to push back up into the trend. Trend started to rise. You can see we're capped out to the trend, but you can see off of the top here, going back into the third and closing, excuse me, I should say the fourth quarter here in October of 2024, the velocity started to extinguish. So we see the velocity extinguish here into this top. This has been an indicative of institutional selling. So we can see that the trend paused here and it's now breaking lower. So we can see velocity coming out, and now we're going to want to see how quickly the trend breaks. So that's what we're looking at on each of these models. So we started out with NVIDIA. Let's look at Microsoft. We're always going to start out with this bigger picture velocity model. Again, you can see how we hit that top here at 555 or just about on Microsoft. And that was the top, and I'll show you in just a moment. So we're going to want to watch. You notice, same idea. Velocity was coming out. It kind of broke upward again as we had that huge rise back up. But why did that have to happen? Well, let's look at a different model here. We can see why that had to happen. Here's the big picture Microsoft. So you'll notice here when Microsoft broke down that the idea that the dot curve had still not topped out. And you notice that we came down and we perfectly tested the gate. We didn't open up below, but we came down pretty quickly also on Microsoft, and the dot curve still had not topped. So this started to pull things down. You notice how since all the way back here in early 2024, the momentum of the circulation, or the second part of the dot curve's V channel, here again between the two we call that the V channel, or the velocity of momentum channel, and then the faster moving pink line we call the Mach, or the momentum of circulation of the velocity. So one is the directional of the circulation and one is the momentum of circulation. You see it's rolling back over. You can see we got this nice peak up, and now Microsoft is above the dot curve. That is you wanted to sell that top being above the dot curve. Now how is Microsoft going to probably set up? It's already started to break. So let's just look at a couple of models here. You notice in this close-up model, it came up out of that low, and then you notice the trend was building, and here is your top out signal right here on the 555, and now notice the trend just continuing to break away. We're looking right now at a target of 443 for Microsoft to come down and test. We've got that gap fill below, so we got a huge gap here in the Microsoft chart. 555 was definitely somewhere to pull the ripcord and get out. And again, you can see we've got the rollover here. Here we got the bear cross here, ongoing within the V channel. Again, the signal top perfectly at 555, and now we're working lower. You notice how it's turned red here on this flow model. You notice starting off of the 555 top, look at all the selling that's ongoing here. It was very strong going up into that high, and now we want to continue to see this developing a more red here into the coming weeks, which is indicative. This is a flow-based model that I consider the gatekeeper flow model here, and that is what we are measuring. So you can see the signals moving down, and we're heading down into that 443 target. We should get there here into the month of September, and then we'll see if it wants to break even more to the downside. So we're going to be keeping a very close eye on that. The really big picture of Microsoft, we still have not got the trend to pull over. But you can see here the velocity, which is indicative of selling, has continued to come out since the high in 2022. So we've had literally a 1, 2, 3-year drain in velocity now on Microsoft. It won't take long now for the big picture trend to start to break. Now you can see we had this pull down here and back up. But I'm going to be watching that, and this is good to see this drain ongoing here, because that's going to play into what price might want to do going further out. Now take a look at Apple. Apple had that initial sell-off here, 2025, and notice it rallied right back up to trend here. Apple is done. You want to be shorting Apple here, up here, 235. It can't get above this trend. You see the velocity breaking down again. Apple is a short right here. So if you want to short something, I would be looking definitely to short Apple. You can see in this model back here in late 2024, it came up, topped out right on the dot curve, came up again, topped right out on the dot curve. My price target for Apple off of this 235 level would be back down to 191, and then we'll see what it wants. But you can see the trend is already pricing it back down here at 191. It really, really looks like a nice setup. And you can see here nothing but selling in Apple all of June, all of July, and all of August. You see there's been a little bit of buy here, a little bit of buy. To me, this is a distribution pattern where they're trying to keep the price elevated to sell into. Extremely good looking distribution pattern. So this sets up really nice now for this move lower here into the coming month. If you're looking for a short, Apple is definitely one I like a lot here. So looks really solid. I really, really like it. And you see big picture, look at, we're all the way up here priced at trend, right? So we can't go any higher here in the market, and Apple's just below. But look at this aggressive drain ongoing since the top in 2022 in the Apple stock. And you notice the trend is now flatlined. It is just a beautiful looking setup. Apple is ripe and ready. Amazon is still strong. There is going to be some strength in this group of 10, and into the coming weeks, that's something we're very much going to want to watch closely. And that's the whole purpose of this report. You can see here in the Amazon, you notice here, we finally got a top out here in the dot curve at the start of this year, 2025. You notice that the velocity is still holding up here, but we're at the top of trend, we're at the top of velocity, and where are we? As I've discussed before, you notice up here, as we topped out on the dot curve, we were above it. We needed to come into the V channel. We sold off into the V channel. Now we're above the V channel, and we're ready to sell off back into the V channel again. Amazon looks done. It's just got a little bit of work to do. My target on Amazon from where we're sitting right now, a test here of 210. That will drop it probably just below. We can drop below the 210 into the V channel. Then we'll see what it wants. You can see right here, 210 to the V. We're above, again, the dot curve. I just think it looks really good. Now, I wouldn't short this one, but we definitely need to see it break lower. We can see in the bigger picture here on Amazon, you notice the trend's still kind of rising, but this, look at Amazon. Look at the drain. The liquidity in Amazon actually started draining back in 2021. And look at that drain ongoing in Amazon. It's held up because it's being held up most likely because it is part of the Magnificent 10. So it is in all the indexes that are supporting the market. But Amazon itself looks extremely weak. Let's go to Google. We're working our way down that list in exact order. Each one, as we go down the list, is a less and less percentage of the top 10 of that 50%, which makes up, NDX makes up the top 10. XPX is pretty close to it at about just above about 41% of just these 10 stocks. It is the market. This definitely is the market. And we'll be looking at other models that then pick up that other percentage of the market, because that's a part of the picture too. But trust me, the top 10 is really what's key to it all. And you can see we broke out to a little bit higher. We took out the old top here at 208. So that kind of broke this head and shoulders pattern we had going on. Looks really clean, but it doesn't really matter because we're again above the dot curve, right? You remember the rule. We don't want to be above the dot curve. We want to be cheap and then buying it for rally back up to the dot curves. You see back here, cheap back up to the dot curve. But you notice Google now, we've got the top of the dot curve completed right here. And we're above the dot curve, and we can see velocity draining, and now trend will break. So it's got a price back down in here. So Google looks nice too for being in a topping position. I've got a current target of 177 on Google. It's still going to roll over, but I like it down here. Again, it's above the V channel. The dock is finally rolling over here on this more shorter term model. I just like the look of it. Now, it's still got a little bit of strength on the buy side. You can see the selling back here, right? Look at the selling in March, April, May, and even in June in Google. And then we did get some buying here in August. So Google got a bit of a buy bid here in August, and that could have just been due to the indexes. What's curious is we got the signal turnover here right at this 211 top. So I think Google is done as of last week. Google looks totally finished and ready to move lower. Now let's look at Meta platforms. Meta, same setup. Look at the velocity starting to drain out here. You notice that it's all priced right here above V. We got to go down into the V channel. Now Meta's pretty strong, but let's see how this is going to evaporate. We can fall into it. But the overall look to Meta platforms looks pretty good there. I mean, it's pretty solid. I only posted one of Meta for now. I need to put up more. I had a few others I wanted to put up, but I just wanted to show you that one model. Now let's go on here into Broadcom quickly here. And here we go into Broadcom. Broadcom still strong too. Of course, all part of this AI situation. It's still looking pretty strong. So, it's got a price lower, but it still hasn't broken down here on the bigger liquidity looking model. Let's look at a few more here. Broadcom, look, we're just only barely trying to roll over here. We've still got some pretty good strength. We do have a signal turn here in Broadcom with a target of 232 for now. Broadcom more than likely it should be finished. It could see a pretty good sell-off shortly, because if you look at it here, you notice back in March and April and May we had a lot of selling in Broadcom, taking it back to 137, and with this rally we're back up at 317. And you notice on this model we got the dot curve forming. We've got the bear cross here saying that the rally up is finished. We got the signal turn here. We're seeing some selling here, so I would be done with Broadcom here at 317. I wouldn't necessarily be shorting it yet, but if I held it, I would be a seller of Broadcom. Berkshire Hathaway, we see in the liquidity come out, right? See it coming out here, it's breaking. We're going to want to watch that. We're going to want to see what happens. It looks pretty aggressive here in this model. Look at that top right there. And we're ready to just collapse here. I mean, I think Berkshire is ready to make a pretty aggressive move lower. Look at the selling here in the flows. Look at this breakdown in the model. There's nothing pretty. I've got a 410 target right now on Berkshire. It's up and above the trend here. That may take us out into the October-November time frame to get to 410. But Berkshire is heading lower. Most definitely heading lower. Let's look at Tesla. Tesla's got an interesting look. You notice here, top of the dot curve just completing right now. You see it? We're trapped between the gate at 243, and we are right up here pricing this top portion here for quite some time now. You notice all the way back here, 24, 25, just trending sideways. That is your top. You're not going to see that high again. We're now watching this 243 gate now to see if that can open below. It can drop below the gate, but 243 there on Tesla. It is not looking too pretty. You can see it even here. Notice the velocity is all the way down here. The trend's still holding it. The V channel takes it below 101. I would say we're going below 100 in Tesla ahead here. I wouldn't, that 488, what a sweet sell that was. And I was screaming to some friends to get out of Tesla. They so were in love with the stock, they didn't listen. Major mistake. And it is going to head lower. Here you can see it again right there, right? And let's see what else I had on Tesla right here. Here's our 243 price target. We've got to see it break down. We had the signal top at 488. The selling is still not that aggressive. You can see here, I'd like to start to see some red come in here. Not seeing a lot of selling. We did see selling back here, though, in that big sell-off in all the stocks. You see the big selling in Tesla. Look at that huge drop off of that high all the way down to 217. Look at it flow right down the model. That is just a sweet looking picture right there. And then you can see right now we're just grinding sideways. Again, that looks like a distributed pattern. June, July, and August, somebody is getting out of Tesla. I mean, we're seeing this distribution pattern in quite a few of the top 10 names. Indicative of selling on the other side. Now, JP Morgan has just been a beast, as have all the broker-dealer stocks. If you take a look at JP Morgan, you take a look at Goldman Sachs, Jefferies is done. You look at the broker-dealers, there's still some strength there, and you can see that we still got some strength. It still has not broken on the velocity. We're going to have to watch that. I mean, JP Morgan and the finance, I want to see that break at some point. It can break fast. You can see here at this peak, you notice this was the top, market selling off, JP Morgan selling off as we came down. You see the peak back in 2020, same idea. So we still have not rolled over yet. We still are right at the top of the trend, priced right to the top of the trend here, and we're going to want to watch it roll over. So JP Morgan right now is still not rolled over. It's still not putting out a sell signal, other than we did get the signal right here at this high at 301. That may be all she wrote. You can see some selling coming in here, right? You notice the selling here, the buying here on the upside pretty strong. And you notice now the trend flows, and the flows starting to come out right here in the past 3 months. I see some sell side pressure here. We still got a lot of work to do. We come down and test this gate right here. Looks like it's pricing right at about 260. That may want to work its way down here till 260, but there's still some pretty good strength there. I would say JP Morgan's going to start to see a sell-off for sure as we begin to work ourselves lower. And here's our Meng model. Of course, used to be the Feng model, but since we're now calling it Meta instead of Feng, we got to call it the Meng model. This is those 5 stocks. And I put the SPX here as well, and you can see, of course, it tracks perfectly. You notice we had our bear cross here, fighting for a bear cross here, and after the high, or excuse me, after the low, we finally got the rollover ongoing here in the dot curve. Trends starting to break away, and we got a signal top. So if this signal top holds and the dot curve holds, we're looking really solid now. In a lot of these stocks that are holding this whole market up, we're seeing these signal turns and we're seeing these rollovers in the dot curve. I'm going to be coming back at you. We're going to be reviewing this quite frequently. We'll be back in 1 week to update this report. This is the first one coming out. I'm also developing an AI stock trading report, and we're going to, of course, have our crypto report, which I've worked on to make it a little bit more accurate. It's extremely good, the crypto trading report, and I've been developing and should have the AI and the crypto reports out to you tomorrow to take a look at, so stay tuned for those. I'm back at it. I'm back here. I'm back to bring you some data, and we're going to get back in the game to help you make money. It's all going to be focused on trading, what to go long, what to go short, and where to make profits. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and that's Glenn out of here for today.